Best NES co-op games. We at CoOp Dojo are always looking for the next great co-op title. As releases slow down, this time of year is a good time to look back at the great co-op titles from previous consoles. This is our first of these lists, the top 5 co-op titles on the great NES. Number 5. Gyromite. Gyromite was an early NES game that allowed players to either control a scientist escaping his lab, or an unseen presence who raised and lowered the pipes throughout the lab. These pipes could be used to enable the scientist to clear the stage and crush various monsters chasing the scientist throughout the lab. The scientist's only defense was dropping radishes, which temporarily distracted the monsters. For the friendless, Gyromite attempted to provide you with a cooperative player in the form of a robot, who would play the game with you, controlling the pipes. I never saw this work well. Gyromite gets extra points for not relying on guns or fisticuffs for gameplay, for introducing asymmetrical co-op, and for being a fun way to spend an afternoon, particularly with less experienced gamers. Number 4. Bubble Bobble. It is difficult to describe the plotline behind Bubble Bobble. Basically, you're a dinosaur seeking to rescue your girlfriend. You shoot bubbles that entrap enemies. If you can then pop the bubble with the enemy inside, you eliminate the enemy. Everything, from the pervasive music to the silly monsters, is very cartoony, but the game is surprisingly addictive. It takes a long time to clear enough rooms to get to the end. However, the rooms and the enemies have enough variety to keep a long game interesting, in contrast to Rampage, for example. Bubble Bobble has had several sequels and other iterations, but the original NES game is still the best. Number 3. Contra. Contra is probably our first experience with cooperative gameplay. 2 commandos land in the jungle and take on wave after wave of alien soldiers. The game clearly took inspiration from the Stallone and Schwarzenegger movies of the 80s, particularly Predator. Contra was unusual at the time for including several different level designs. You moved horizontally, vertically, and front to back in some early first-person shooter-style levels. The variety of level design and environments is why this shooter is on the list, and the impressively long, seriously monotonous Ikari Warriors is not. The only drawback is that Contra is difficult. If you plan to win, definitely cheat, using the classic 30 extra lives code. Number 2. Double Dragon 2. After the tremendous disappointment of Double Dragon 1, no co-op? Double Dragon 2 was the game we had been waiting for. It was a cooperative brawler which deviated significantly from the arcade game and actually produced a better game for it. There were 9 levels of gameplay and a surprising amount of variety throughout. Later levels leaned a bit too much on platforming, but the combat was solid throughout, and the game, a must-play then, is still fun today. Number 1. River City Ransom. River City Ransom is a fun brawler in which you and a friend bounce around River City as you attempt to liberate your high school and your girlfriends from rival gangs that have overtaken the entire city. Beating the game wasn't terribly difficult. The fun part came from backing up and exploring the city. The power-ups you could obtain through shopping in the wide variety of stores let you play the game in a number of different ways. The gangs were humorously named, and the Double Dragon heroes even show up as the penultimate boss. The cartoonish violence inspired the movie and video game adaptation of Scott Pilgrim, and is recognizable to most NES players today. An adventure title masquerading as an action title, River City Ransom was a great cooperative experience if you knew how to play it.